And I would like also to extend my gratitude to the committee, so GHC and IFDSC and IFPMA, for inviting me to present today. So today I'm going to give the industry perspective, and especially from a multinational global companies. So first of all, why is the WLA status important for the industry? I think that all has been said, right? But it gives really this objective assessment and quantifiable outcome about where a regulatory agency is in terms of maturity level and how it performs. So it gives these fair assessments. So we are not only now relying on a very small pool of SRAs, and this expanded pool of WLAs gives also some new opportunities for the industry. So through this standardized measurement, it gives this globally recognized list of WLAs, which can be leveraged for regulatory submissions for our new product registrations. So the WLA's process and framework is also very beneficial because it helps building this trust, right, that we have heard over the past days. It promotes this trust among regulators, but also from the industry. And this promotes the use of collaborative pathways and reliance procedures, which helps to expedite regulatory approvals and facilitate access. And as mentioned, it also expands the pools of reference NRAs if the WLAs is listed as a reference NRAs by the relying authorities. And that gives the opportunities to have more choice from the industry to choose from in terms of regulatory authorities, and that can impact also the timelines for submissions. And we can go over this point a little bit later in my next slides. And overall, as mentioned, it would help to improve the patient access and global health outcomes. So where are the opportunities, right, with this new system? So from the global perspective, we have multiple countries to consider, right, for filings from multinational company perspectives. So usually what we have done is that companies usually filed in major markets like EU or US, and then the other submissions would follow in subsequent waves. And it would be based on the US, EU, and sometimes perhaps Japan. But now with this expanded pool of regulatory authorities, there is this new concept that is emerging, which is, could we actually use a WLA, so a reference agency which is recognized as a WLA and based in the region, so to help the submissions and approvals and expediting the approvals of other countries within the region. So that can really be a game changer in the filing sequencing from a global company strategy. So this is really this new concept that maybe we could identify a regional WLA that could support the submissions in our country, in this region. However, as you know, right, there are lots of considerations regarding the choice of reference NRAs. So it's a complex decision, and now it's even more complex because we have more choices, right, in terms of NRAs or WLAs that we can choose from. So there are new WLAs like MFDS that we could be considered, or Singapore HSA, right, that could be considered as a reference agencies. But there are different considerations. So first of all, the first condition is, of course, this WLA has to be listed, right, and recognized by the relying authorities. So it seems obvious, but it's not always the case. Some agencies have not updated the list of reference agencies according to the WLA status. So this is something that is this is the first condition. So providing that the WLA is listed as a reference agencies by the relying authorities in the reliance pathways, the companies need to do case-by-case assessment. First, it can depend on the type of products and the region also where we are operating. So the type of products, we need to ensure that the products which is supplied in the WLA is the same as the product that we intend to supply in the relying country, NRA. So these are some of these product-specific considerations. And there's also, I think that the new consideration that is, should we consider a new WLA, but we don't have experience, right, with using this, leveraging this new WLA in the reliance pathways. So there's a little bit of a risk taking here from the authorities, from the company perspective, because we don't really know how the assessment will be performed. Will it be a true reliance principle that will be applied by the relying authorities, because the relying authorities would not also be familiar with this new WLA, right, providing assessment reports from these new WLAs. So these are all these considerations that it's tied to a little bit the experience also from the company, whether they have a really good experience with the WLAs from past submissions. And whether we believe that they have also similar regulatory standards as the countries where we intend to submit. And the last consideration is about the availability of scientific advice and open dialogue. So there's now this new opportunity that perhaps a new WLA could also support more proactively some of these reliance pathways by answering questions from the NRAs, if they have, or providing some support and be open to a dialogue. So this helps to drive the decision of which WLA or which reference NRAs we would use in reliance pathways. But overall, I think that as an industry, it's the WLA framework we are really supportive, right, of the process and of the framework, because it drives regulatory convergence. The regulatory system strengthening component is very essential, right? And the indicators assessed through GBT and through the WLA designation process, all these indicators and parameters really promote regulatory convergence and international harmonization of regulatory requirements. And then we also support that there is an expectation from WLAs to issue and share the information through public assessment reports and to also publish transparently timelines metrics. So this is really a very important component from the company perspective, to have this predictable and transparent sharing of information and predictable process. And it also increased efficiencies through greater collaboration. So we know that reliance pathways and work sharing collaborative pathways helps to achieve these efficiencies and expedite approvals. And finally, we do promote the use of reliance and leveraging WLAs and reference agencies for both initial registration and post-approval changes. But how do we make it what are the key enablers for considering more WLAs, especially the new WLAs like MFDS or HSA in companies' decisions? So we talked about company considerations, but here this is really the two key elements that needs to be in place. First, the relying NRAs has to publicly publish, right, the list of reference agencies, and as mentioned earlier, ideally it would be aligned with the WLA status. So every agencies which is listed as a reference agencies would have the WLA status. So that would reflect really that this high level of maturity and the capability to perform at the highest level. So that gives insurance for the companies as well. So with this official list, so this is a cornerstone of using of reliance pathways and having this new WLAs listed as a reference agencies. Another point is, which is very important for the industry, is also the possibility to have the flexibility to choose among the different NRAs, and the possibility potentially to change also NRAs during the life cycle management, providing, of course, that certain criteria are met, right? But this would really help with the supply chain management and managing changes throughout the life cycle of the product. But overall, even with the possibility to change or to have multiple reference agencies, we are supportive of using only one reference agencies for the reliance pathways that the relying authorities would rely upon. So that would help with ensuring the consistency of the assessments and in decreasing complexities. And the second key enabler is the importance of the assessment reports from the WLA or from the reference NRAs. So this is really the key essential tool, right, for the relying NRAs to make an informed decision based on reliance. And so this document has to be, the expectation about this document has to be clearly described and indicated in the regulations or in the guidance for reliance pathways. And we do encourage that NRAs use public assessment reports, right? That would be published by WLAs. That could contain all the information necessary with regard to the review and the decision making for new product registrations or post-approval change. And another aspect which is also important is that there should be mechanisms within the relying authorities to share information and to especially keep the confidential information confidential to preserve this aspect. And especially in reliance pathway, because authorities would be expected to submit a full dossier, a complete dossier, as the same dossier as submitted in the reference, in the WLA or reference NRAs countries. And also share unredacted, sometimes unredacted assessment reports, so non-public assessment reports. And this is again the WHO GBT and the good regulatory practice, right, will help also to give this assurance if the reference agency has a WLA status. Okay, now I'm going just to, this is going to wrap up my presentation, but just some final thoughts is that we all know that there are multiple advantages, right, with the WLA frameworks. So it gives advantages to industry, but also we believe to the entire ecosystem because it promotes a timely access to innovative drugs. And it can change also decisions makings and filing sequences as we described earlier in the presentation. So that could really accelerate approvals of innovative products to a wide range of countries through the use of reliance and collaborative registration pathways. It increases efficiencies and optimization of resources through these pathways. It will reduce the burden from the industry to respond to multiple same questions, right, across multiple countries. So that really helped with streamlining the procedure and increase efficiencies. And then it drives regulatory convergence toward international standards, and it helps really to achieve more robust regulatory decisions from the relying NRAs, by relying on the assessment from the WLAs. And finally, it helps with managing, right, the global supply chains, and increasing the resilience in global supply chains management. So that is really an important component, especially if in the times of potential pandemic and pandemic preparedness in the future. So that concludes my slides. So I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks for your attention.